Welcome back, YouTube. In today's installment, we're going to start by pulling the transmission out. You're not going to have a great view of that, so I'm going to try to have a clever placement for you to watch on time lapse. So it'll go by real quick. There's nothing fun about it. I mean, I'm not teaching you how to take one out. It's all pretty self-explanatory. It's heavy. You unbolt it. You don't want it to fall on you. That's the main thing you want to know. So I'm going to get started on that. And you can follow along. We'll get that part done quick, and then we can clean under the car, get that all prepped and painted, and we're going to paint the drive shaft. And depending on how smooth and fast all that goes, we'll probably just wrap up there. And then there'll be another part that you can get to watch. So here we go. Well, here's the old automatic. We have it out. After I wrestled that out from under the car. Let's take a look under here. And here's the newly painted area. Newly painted section. I'll just walk you underneath here and I'll show you I guess where we're sitting currently. Oh. Need to get under here. Okay. There's the line. Newly redone versus not yet prepped and painted. Here's the back of the engine. Whoa. When I was under here, I uncovered something. I think I may have uncovered something, but I think I'm also just going to chicken out and leave it alone. I want to say, no, okay, I'll just tell you. It looked like fresh oil was leaking out of the cam core plug in the back of the block there. And I've always suspicioned ever since this engine was redone that the rear main leaked, but that's kind of an easy answer because oil obviously runs downhill, so it looked like that's where it was coming from. Man, it sure did look fresh from around that core plug. But from all the stuff I've looked into, it might not be as easy as I would like for it to be to just pop that plug out and replace it. And I'm kind of looking at, well, is it really leaking? Is it really bad? Or was it oil that was running down from the top and coming from maybe like the back of the intake, which I can tell is leaking? And that oil was a little dirtier on the back of the engine because it's obviously dirty on the outside. And that plate that goes in behind your flywheel was kind of encapsulating all that inside of there. So really, it probably is leaking there, but I don't think it's bad enough that I'm going to mess with it. I'm going to pass on it this time. Maybe it'll become a bigger problem later, and then I'll have to deal with it. Maybe I'm just in denial. I don't know. But I do need to prep all this underneath here for paint. It looks pretty bad. Pretty rough. I say that. It's not rusty or anything. It's very greasy, and I'm trying to think of a way I can do this without making myself into a huge mess. Super nasty. Probably from this oil leak that I'm in denial about, that I don't want to fix. But the transmission always leaked really, really bad. We can blame a lot of it on that. And pass the blame. Seems to be a common trend these days. And we can take a look at some of the other stuff I've done. Just a little bit more fun. One of the fun things I did was remove this little guy, the transmission kickdown. We're not going to need that anymore with a manual. So this whole big unit, 2 little bolts on the back of the intake manifold, right down there, no longer has to be there. You see a fresh pipe plug. That's because that was where the vacuum line ran that went to the automatic. No longer need that. I also removed the transmission cooler. So no more transmission cooler lines. Pulled all those out. That's a plus. Man, if you really think about all the differences in an automatic and a manual, there's so much less stuff to mess with when you have a manual. It's just an easier car. I don't know how many were produced of all the different models and manual and automatic and all this and that. I'm sure somebody does. I'm sure it's out there, or a lot of it probably is. But it would make sense why there wouldn't be as many manual cars around anymore, because they got more thoroughly used up the first go-round. They didn't have automatics that break. Man, automatics just don't last very long. Not for me anyway. And manuals seem to just be indestructible. As long as you don't go out of your way to thoroughly abuse one, which these are kind of the top loaders are kind of famous for being indestructible, so their reputation invites people to try to destroy them. So let's maybe get to something fun, and let's remove the automatic shifter. Okay, we're back in the car now. While I'm pretty much finding ways to avoid what I need to do, which is get under the car and clean and degrease the bottom side there that all needs to be painted, I'm going to go ahead and get this shifter taken off. And magically, somehow luckily, I've had experience with these shifters, because when I was in high school I had a car like this, and this stripped out. So this was always coming off, and I had to try to find a replacement, and I did. Eventually, I learned to appreciate one that's not stripped out. But for now, we need to see if we can get to all 4 of the bolts that hold the base of this shifter in without destroying our carpet. One screw is shorter. The front 2 are shorter. So for now, we'll take that out, get it out of the way. I need to cut this carpet some more to get to those, which I've been kind of leery about because I don't want to overcut it. But we need to be brave. We need to get it. I'm thinking we need to get it cut back enough to where we can put our shifter boot down below the carpet, and so it can bolt in these same bolt holes. And then we use the factory style chrome thing that just kind of goes in over the boot. So let's get to cutting on this. See where we end up. See how much of this I can do with the tools I brought. Those just want to pinch the carpet. That's not going to work. What about these? Those cut. Okay. I need to get this whole assembly out. Feel around in here for the bolt heads. You can see them on the bottom side. So they're in here. I don't think they're underneath this. I think they're around it. Looks like a pretty big square from the underside, what I'm seeing. But with that said, I don't feel anything. Or do I? Is that something? Some kind of layer of insulation there. Exploratory car surgery here. I do have the screwdriver handy. Go ahead and pull this plate off. See if it's that easy. Well, these are some fancy screws. They're probably original. Does this little plate here come off? And it does. It's not attached to anything else. How good is that? Okay, I see some heads. It looks like they were just underneath that plate. That's a positive. That's a big positive. Oh yeah, that's the one that didn't work. This is the one that works. Get down in there. I can access those without making the hole in the carpet any bigger than it has to be. With that being said, I'm going to make it bigger right now just because I think it has to be for the boot. So man, I hope it's in the right spot. The carpet is a little faded if I end up needing to replace it. Talk about nerve-wracking now. You need a hole there, but if you make it too big, you can see it, and you ruin your carpet. Nobody wants that. And I might have the right size right here. Nope. How about that one? There we go, 7/16. Now we'll see if this shifter assembly will fit through the hole in the carpet. Accessing the screws is one part, but you got to pull the whole thing out. I always wondered how this whole assembly came out, and I just got to notice underneath that there's just bolts that bolt this on. I thought you had to maybe cut some rivets or something, but you don't. Doing all this by hand, just because I can. Yeah, ideally you'd pull the seats out, pull the air conditioner unit there out. And you could undo your door trim and have the carpet in here loose where you could move it around. But man, that just seems like a lot of extra work. I really hope I'm not making this hole too big. I need to make it a little bit bigger just to get to these bolts. And the factory trim thing is small. It doesn't really allow for miscut carpet. Doesn't look like it does anyway. You can probably just see my arm from there. And camera views are just tough to get. You need to be where I am. Let's try that for a camera view. Oh, that one's out. One more bolt. That bolt is out. And this whole assembly comes out just like that. We have this one little light circuit here. Not going to need that anymore. It's unplugged on one end. Does it unplug more than one place there? I don't believe that light worked anyway. That might have been why. It might have been unplugged already. And one of those wires. If I unwrap this tape, are these just connected in here? Or is it just taped? Oh, well, sort of. It had had a really fun, low quality electrical connection there for this light circuit. All right, now we have a hole in the floor. Let's check this out. How about that? Even more of a manual. We got more pedals now. We have a place for a shifter. If we weren't all concerned about the bottom of the, or if I weren't all concerned about the bottom of the floor being repainted, we'd be ready to go in with it. So here's all my mess in here. In this project, I still have this pulled out because I need to put in the new speedometer cable and all that fun stuff. So yeah. Bracket 1 reinstalled. Loosely, of course. Bracket number 2. Installed and tightened. I'm going to try to install bracket number 3 here. I'm going to find out if I should have maybe left that loose or not. Yeah, I think we're in the clear. Let's do it directly over either my mouth or my eyes. Those are the two best ways to position yourself when you're working under a car. Making sure that whatever you're working on is either about your mouth or your eyes, an ear hole, something. It shows your dedication and experience. It's really kicking in. I've done quite a bit of that lately, though. I'm going to try to do it just over the opening of my shirt instead. That should be better this time. And this bracket, I think, well, I guess the cable holds the load really. I think this one needs to be pretty secure to the bottom of the car. I mean, they all do, but there's the park brake cable. But it more or less just holds the cable up. Right? Yeah, sure. Put this little doodad back up in its little home. Just like that. Oh yeah. Just so this can be in the way even more. It hasn't been too bad though. Just kind of there to help make sure your arms and shirt get dirty. And you know you're okay. Alright, you might actually like this part. Okay. We're gonna do some more engine-y type fun stuff here. You see our little engine up there? Genuine 289. Set you, whoa, I'm trying to set you up where you won't fall over, and you're just determined to fall over anyway, aren't you? Engine. You're gonna love some of these views. It's gonna be real good. We've got back of our crank here. We need to install that pilot bushing, pilot bearing. So let me get all my parts and tools. Easy there, camera. Don't knock it. Don't fall over again. You're very clumsy. Hit 3 legs and you still fall over all the time. All right, here we are. Comfortable new work zone under the car here. Clean up the end of our crank, which I've already done. But this is just a little bit of finish wiping here. Make all that nice and pretty. Oh yeah. I have my park brake cable dangling in my ear. That's always good. driving socket, hammer. I already went and found a socket that fits the outside diameter of our pilot bushing. I've had the pilot bushing soaking in motor oil in my freezer overnight, so it'll be nice and chilly. It's not going to burn us. Maybe it's a tiny bit smaller and we'll slide in there right nice. So let's go get it. Okay. Here's our freshly chilled pilot bushing. I opted for a solid brass unit from Ram Clutches. It was what was available in bronze. This oil on here is nice and thick. I do see a difference in ours. Okay, let me try to explain this to you here. In the opening, there's a more rounded side and a more flat edge side of the inside of this bushing. This is the more rounded opening. The more rounded opening goes towards the back of the car for inserting the shaft a little bit more easily. Because I imagine stabbing a transmission underneath your car like this is going to be tough enough as it is. So have the bushing work in your favor and not against you. Get this little doodad set up. Wipe the oil off your hand. Grab your hammer. Start the tapping. It's going in little by little. Still going in. We're still driving. I might even grab a block of wood so I can waylay on this thing a little bit heavier. Give it a couple more taps before I commit to getting out front of the car. Or are we in? I don't want to hammer directly on the bushing though. I know I don't want to do that. Sure sounds like it's home. I believe it is. I think we're all the way in. Okay, good deal. I am going to grab a block of wood and smack it some more just to be 100% sure we're all the way in. But I think we're good. This is another option that I bought. This is a steel pilot bushing. And I failed to share this with you, but one thing that I checked on these before I installed this was I slipped the bushing over the shaft on the transmission to make sure that it would fit. And you want to do that before you hammer it in the back of your engine. And you're then wrestling the transmission, trying to get it to go in. Make sure that it fits, so you know that that's not the reason why it's not going in, if it won't. Just a little something to think about that's pretty important. Give this a few finish whacks. Not enough to split the board, but it's in. Okay, cool. Let's move on to our flywheel. All right, check this out. In our nice, pretty new Centerforce box here. Put these away. In our sticker drawer, we have a nice new billet steel flywheel from Centerforce. Ooh, that's pretty. I went with the billet wheel because this engine has a red line of 7,000 RPM. And from what I read and hear and believe, the cast flywheels are really only good up to 6,000 RPM. And it sounds like, yeah, well, it'll probably be okay. The thing is, if it's not okay, it's gonna come apart and come flying up through the car at you. So this was roughly 400 bucks. That's not cheap. That's a lot of money, but you know, that's not a lot of money when it comes to peace of mind, knowing that parts will not come flying up through the floor of your car and kill you. We've all heard, I mean, we haven't, but there are cases out there of flywheels on drag strips coming apart and flying up and hitting people in the stands. So it'll go far beyond just through the floor of your car. So we went with a billet steel wheel. High RPM safe. It'll last forever, I imagine, and we just need to put the weights on it. So it'll be balanced correctly for our application, which on this old Mustang should be 28 ounces. It should come with a 50-ounce weight and a 28-ounce weight. We're going to use some blue Loctite on the threads to hold this weight on. We're going to get our old factory flywheel to ensure we put the weight in the proper location. After we get through this paper and tape here. .28 ounce ought to be the smaller one that weighs less. 50 ounce ought to be the heavier one that weighs more. And now we need to make sure that we get it in the right spot, which it looks to me like you can't get it in the wrong spot. So that's a good thing. So let's go get our blue Loctite. I'll tell you what was really amazing. This doesn't seem to weigh a whole lot, but it's going to make the difference of an unbalanced engine versus a balanced engine. So let's get blue Loctite on these, and let's get our tools out here and get this torque to spec. 3/16 Allen for all of those who are going to ask me what size tool that is. So let's lather them up real nice with some Loctite. The instructions call for red, and I've never seen a case where you actually need red. I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm just saying that from what I've learned, red is permanent. Blue can be removed one day, and I used a generous amount there. We're going to run these down and then torque them to 25 foot-pounds. Put this away for the next thing that needs to be semi-permanent. Oh yeah, nice and juicy. You can wipe away the excess there. Really got juicy on that one. For what it's worth, I'm going to go to 10 on both and then go to 25. 25 foot-pounds. Zero that back out. Wipe off the stuff. We don't know yet if we're using these dowel pins for our clutch assembly, so we're just going to hang on to them and get back under the car. All right, everybody, we're under the car. Hopefully I'm not blocking your view. I really mean that. There's just a little oily. Looks like that's the oil coming out of my pilot bushing that we hammered in there on Friday morning. Wipe this off, free of any debris. I don't think any oil residue is going to hurt anything. Keep it from just seizing on there on the day that this ever needs to come off. And I'm going to install the flywheel with a volt or two without Loctite first. Here's our flywheel. It has our 28-ounce weight. I'm going to wipe off its mating surface. It's already clean, but now I know it's clean. And we're going to stick her up there. And these bolts, actually, whoa, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not do that. I need the plate. We're going to put the plate on. Skipping steps. I caught myself in time now. Plate. Here we go, plate. Let's wipe you down. Wipe down our plate sealing surface. I actually did install a previous automatic on this. Actually, when I put this engine in, I put this engine in a long ago, and when I did, I left the plate out. And I was getting stuff tightened down, and I walked back into my shop at the time, and I noticed this plate, not this plate, the other plate, the automatic plate, sitting there, not being installed. So I pulled the engine back out, or pulled the engine loose, didn't pull it all the way out, and I put the plate in. So yeah, don't do that twice. Okay, I don't have any way to already know how this lines up, so I'm just going to stick it up there. That's not it. That's not it. Also, not it. Not it. We'll get there eventually. Still not there. That looks like a winner. Now, for safety's sake, I'm just going to put a bolt in. Something about like that. Make sure it's all threaded down pretty good. This will protect our face. Now we'll take our blue Loctite and install these bolts for real. Blue Loctite on that one. We're going to start torquing. The advertised torque spec for these are 60 to 65 foot-pounds. So maybe we'll do 3 stages. Do you say 20, 40, 65? There's 20. We're gonna need to hold the engine in place. Okay, I have a little trick you may can see up front there. I don't have any friends handy at the moment, so I'm gonna see if my little trick will work. I'll hold the crankshaft in place there using the ground. Working so far at 40 foot-pounds. Let's crank it up to 65. While I don't want this to be difficult to hold, I do want this to feel tight. This is the kind of part you want not coming loose, and I've never had one come loose. So why start now? This is all just double checking. Okay, there's 65 foot-pounds. Update. Our final torque number for our flywheel today is going to be 85 foot-pounds. I just told you a second ago, 60 to 65. I was out there assembling the bell housing. I started to question that number. I'm glad I did. Because from what I hear, it's wrong. I don't know where I read that. I can't find where I read it. So I'm going to get this another good shellac in here. If I can move my clutch parts so I don't hurt myself. Get that out of the way. Get this out of the way. Keep from injuring myself in this process. Important part of the job. It's hard to finish your job if you're hurt. Man, I feel better about that already. Okay, 85 foot-pounds. Golden. Clutch disc. Hanging out up there. I already wiped all this stuff down. I haven't touched any of the sealing surfaces. I'm gonna leave it be and put it back on. Now I'm going to very carefully run these bolts back in. I say carefully because I'm going to make sure I don't cross thread them since they're already started. The sleeve part of it, the shoulder. Okay, there's one. There's two. There's one again. And we're just going to zip these down and torque them to 38 foot-pounds because our range is 35 to 38. We like to be on the high side of correct. Gives us a little bit of peace of mind. For whatever reason. Run these down while I hold the torque, or while I hold the clutch disc in place. It doesn't get weird. I've already made a mistake. I've already run those down some without starting all the bolts, which is generally a bad idea when you're building anything. But that's what we do. We're full of bad ideas here. We'll get them all in before anything's tight, that's for sure. That's already snug down good. This is going to be 10 foot-pounds for our first round. $10 doesn't even run these all the way down. But it keeps things going equal pressure. As I bang into everything under here. All these freshly painted surfaces. $20. Nope, still 10. 10. Okay, now we're going to go 20. $20. First swing. $20. $20. $20. This feels like it might be bottom, getting them actually pressed all the way down. There's 38. Move this cup of oil, this random cup of oil here. 38, 38, 38. Pushing on this instead of pulling is not smart, but sometimes that's the only way you can reach it. 38. Give him a second run here. 38. 38. 38. 38. And last two, 38. Cool. See if this still feels as good as it did before. Feels pretty good. I like it. Okay, cool. Now that that's done, go grab my bell housing assembly. Give you a quick little view of how I assembled all that stuff. We're gonna hope I did that right. And then we'll get it up here. So here we go. That needs a clip on it. I need to do that too. I believe I saw that clip in my can of hardware. Yeah. I'm just gonna wrestle this in here. Here's our bell housing. I have the throw-out bearing mounted up to our clutch fork. I have the anti-rattle clip around on this side here, hooked around this little bracket on that little clip. I've got the boot on. For anything else you might need to know about this, as much as I hate to say it, as much as you hate to hear it, you might need to do your own research. I'm just showing you what I did. Move my phone out of the way so I can make calls if I need to, but not squish it. It feels magical that I'm getting this close to having a transmission back in here. Okay. And it looks like our little, no, it does go all the way through. Okay, cool. Where am I lined up? About right there. In there. That appear to be right. I'm gonna go with yes. Use my hand as a mallet. A mallet for all my French viewers out there. That's not, that one doesn't get a bolt. That one is especially long. These bolts are going to be too short. Unless, I just kind of suck it in quite a bit. But they're still probably going to be too short. Let's see what size these are. It's a Ford, so they're probably 11/16. But I really want to try the 5/8 first. Hey, they're 5/8. Yeah, there's not very many threads. I don't think these bolts will be a good idea. They go in there very little before they have gone all the way. In the top, they're probably just fine. That's a shallower flange there. 65DA 6394-A. So I'm gonna need to get different bolts for my bell housing. Although this isn't mashed all the way back yet either. Which I shouldn't be pulling it in with these. I know I am. I need to go get a mallet and bump this on all the way. Oh, is it run down? No, there's no way that's run all the way down. No, it's not. These need to go on a good bit. So I'll just get out of the car again, it's easy enough. And then I'll get a mallet, put that on all the way. Those dowel pins aren't fooling around. Yeah. I think I've shattered all my mallets. So I'm just gonna use a hammer and one of these guys. I think I am. Maybe I am going to try to just lightly, casually thread it in. Not advised in most situations. Shouldn't be advised in this one, so I'm going to try not to do that. Taking it in a little bit. Let's go to the other side. Taking that in a little bit too. That's pulling it in. Oh yeah, it went in a couple threads worth. Need to get ratcheting wrench for those top ones. Give me another excuse to get out from underneath here for a few minutes. I'm also curious what I'm going to use to bolt the transmission to this. I've been kind of wondering about that, if that came in my kit or not. Not looking too hot at the moment. I tightened down the top two bell housing bolts from the top. Imagine that, top from the top. Now I'm back under here to make sure these are all adequately run down. Should probably look up the torque spec for these as well. In my experience, never been that crucial. You just kind of get them tight, get them snug down. What do I know? Sure hope all that's installed right. Because it's going in. Clips in there. Okay, that looks like it's It looks like it's dangling in the wrong spot. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. My spring clip's staying on. It just really is wanting to pull that down and away. Like that. Which makes it way unaligned from the rest of the world here. Oh, joy. Which is not great, but what are you gonna do? So now we need to just pick up that little 4-speed and whoop, hold it up in here. Get it good. Then put the cross member back in. Nothing to it. Easy as pie. Oh. Here, come on over.
Saw action under there.
Yeah, it's going in.
Is it?
You got here at just the right time.
I did?
Yeah.
You need a hand?
I need to put the transmission in now.
Oh, okay.
Just got the bell housing in and the clutch fork and all that shit assembled, and
So you really want you want an extra hand?
I mean I might need it.
Okay, let me go and change shirts.
I don't want to kill you.
No. Hey, if I survive 3 days of wood cutting, I can survive this.
Live through anything?
Yeah. Work smart, not hard. That's what Mama said.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. You keep getting another shirt on.
All right.
It's going clear.
You think so?
Yeah. Just let me have that.
Here, I can actually slide it fairly easy.
You can roll it now, but I can pull it.
I'm about to lose it on the jack though.
I think it's going in. Huh? Come on in. You're in.
Okay.
I can't remember. I'm having a senior moment here. Does the pilot bushing, the end of it, or that transmission bearing cover, do either one of them need any grease on them? Does that?
The pilot bushing has to be soaked in oil.
Okay.
It absorbs the oil, and you don't use grease. And
okay,
then
so you use the brass one.
Yeah.
Has it been soaked?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then yeah, it should be ready to stab, but just minus I don't have those bolts. But this honestly went in smoother than I thought it would.
Yeah. All right.
Well, because are you watching the
Yeah. Push.
pilot shaft?
Yeah. Push the wood.
Oh, the whole thing?
Yeah, my way. You slide it. Okay. Okay.
Something like that.
Something like that. Oh, I just pulled it off. Hold on.
Hang on, I'm on the. Yeah. Well, it's. See if you can push the wood down when I lift this up. There it goes.
Okay, we're nearly ready to roll.
I don't think we can lift it up and stab it until I got those bolts,
No,
though.
we can't. I'm thinking if you had something to go, the tail shaft is going to stick out right here, up here, across here with a pry bar or any kind of bar or something, so you can get, you can support your tail shaft whenever you get it up in there.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
Well, it looks like I have room amongst all the between the jack and the transmission, really, to go ahead and, when I get it up in the right enough spot, to go ahead and put the cross member in.
Yeah. Where's the cross member go?
Well, right here.
Okay. Oh, okay.
All right, transmission's in, got the mount in, it's all bolted up, but I need to replace the bolts that attach the actual gear case to the bell housing. We had some, we're able to get by with using the rear bumper bolts, since I have the rear bumper off the car. They happen to also be 7/16 by 14. So that's a little quick trick if you're short those bolts. But I went to Tractor Supply and I got some grade 8 stuff, some shouldered bolts. They're grade 8, they have a flange head. Got some grade 8 washers. So we're able to put the rear bumper back on. The shoulder bolt is, I would say, the right bolt for the job, really. So let's just get these zipped in there real quick, and we can move forward and putting the rest of the car together. We need to put the I can get some screws for that, but that's gonna rattle like mad. Probably gonna end up buying some longer, better, more appropriate bell housing bolts. Probably even the same thing I bought right here for the from transmission to bell housing. Let's get you on time lapse. Replace some bolts. Okay, we've replaced these bolts, and now we need to go get the drive shaft to put that in, so we can fill the transmission up with fluid, so we don't forget to do that, because that would be really, really bad. So let's go get the drive shaft. Back with the drive shaft. I have the front end, the yoke, I suppose, of the drive shaft sufficiently lubed up. I can think of all kinds of good jokes for that. Trying to think if I should pull those out or not. Have my towel to lay on way over there. Okay, transmission's in neutral. Since all four wheels are on the ground, I don't have a park brake. Oh. Just gotta wrestle it in here. Stick it in all gentle. If it doesn't go in all the way, pull it out, push it back in. Come on. Spline, please. There you go. Ooh. You were as excited about that as I was. Okay. Ugh. Now. Ugh. Get under here. Don't make it look too difficult. You have a nice view from the back there. What size wrench do I need here? Is it a half? Okay, cool, it is. I grabbed a half and 7/16 or 11. But the half is gonna get it. And it feels so good to have a freshly painted undercarriage under here. It's a bit magical. I have this probably overly optimistic hope and dream and feeling that it's going to make the car insulate better and be quieter in here. And hell, it might, I don't know. It can't be any worse. Unless all that grease and stuff was just that good of an insulator. But I'll bet it'll be at least as good as it was before. And I can't get that in unless I do that, maybe? There we go. Oh, that's in. Get those nuts started there. Let's not lay on this board. I'm gonna check it for snakes. No snakes. That's a plus. Don't need the wrong wrench. Put that back in my pocket. Get my back all dirty. Ah, towel is so soft too. Enjoying the finer things in life, like a comfortable place to lay under your car. And then you just snug these down as evenly as possible before you go to tightening everything. Just like that. Let's give you a view of the actual operation now that we're under here. Okay, you can rest over there on that ramp. And I can just crawl back under here, just like that. Pick up the old 1/2" wrench. Spin on these 1/4 of a turn at a time. and this one is way behind. Just feel the other end of it. You have a better view of it than I do. I thought I'd noticed the other day that I had lube on this seal like it was leaking. So I just, you know, wiped it off so the leak would go away. And it might have just been excess from the assembly process because I don't see any anymore. So that's good. I think I have a little bit too many threads sticking out. Do I? It's hard to tell. Do I? More than this side. I'm gonna have to get used to not having a neutral safety switch. Not that, which is funny for me to say because it didn't work. I had it disconnected on the automatic, but with that being said, I still parked the car in park. And I also used the park brake, but the park brake on this car never has held real well. You have to pull it real tight. Was that grease or paint? Yeah, it looks awfully fresh on there. I'm gonna go with grease. Wonder where I picked up that much grease. Probably off the U-joint. Okay, anyway. Crank these down. But yeah, I'm not gonna have a neutral safety switch. I'm afraid to park it in gear, because if I park it in gear, you do get in and bump the key, it's gonna start and it's gonna be moving. So, I have a child that likes switches and knobs and turning keys and stuff. I don't want her to jump in here and start the car with it in gear, especially. That'd be very bad. Because this car runs so good, it'd probably start, and then it would start and take off. Not good. So we're going to probably park it in neutral and try to make sure that our park brake works very well. It'll all be freshly cleaned and painted, so surely it'll work better. I mean, the rear brakes are good. Okay. Oh, that's so good. It's all coming together. Less piles of parts and more assembled parts. Now what do we have? We should probably go up top and put the headers in. Let's get you out of there. Okay. Yeah, we should probably go up top, put the headers in, and then we can assemble the clutch pedal mechanism, the Z-bar and all that stuff. So here we go. Header assembly time. Header installation time. Headers are pre-assembled, same as they came off. And I believe I need to snake both of these in from the bottom, which will be delightful. So let's get to getting. This one already has a gasket stuck to it, the old gasket. It wasn't blown out. We're gonna reuse it. Let's get underneath there and snake her in. Snake style. My back towel is gone. Edit this bit out. I'm just walking back and forth over here. With the torque wrench, I never set back to 0. Lovely. Back to 0. Put it back in its box. Back in its little home. Hey, grasshopper, you don't need to be boxed up in there. Good thing you jumped out when you did. Now, isn't it? Put that back on the ground. Okay. Yeah, the gasket's already on this header. I find so much joy in installing headers on a car that easily fit. I've done the whole bigger engine swap thing on cars. In fact, it was on a 65 Mustang. I did a 351 Windsor swap in high school, which brings up another good little point. Simply asking if an engine will fit in a car does not give you the fair black and white answer that you really need and want. Because a 351 Windsor will fit between these shock towers with special headers. But those special headers will be touching on both sides. And if they're not touching, if there's some magic that's allowing them not to touch on both sides, you can only maybe get a feeler gauge between the header and the shock tower. Which a lot of people might say, well, that means it fits or whatever, but it means you can barely get anything in and out of the shock towers. You have to use 3 different sockets and a wrench to get spark plugs out. My point being, if you have a 289 or a 302, you'll be able to work on it, do tune-ups and stuff. If you built a hot little 289 or 302, maybe even a stroker or something to get more cubic inches out of it, it's going to be strong. It's going to be fast. But it'll be small enough you can work on. You can get to everything. You won't be disappointed. A 65 Ford Mustang is not the car you want to go the easy route on with horsepower by going with more cubic inches, because it just isn't worth it. Unless you've got tons of money and you want to cut the shock towers out and hack the car all up, if that's your thing. But you'd be better off, if you're going to spend that kind of money, just buy a car that you can fit a bigger engine in. Unless your mission is just to destroy tiny cars or something. But installing these headers right now without a whole lot of pain, being able to fit everything in here, including my hand, that to me makes it all worthwhile. All worthwhile. Past my sticky, greasy AC line there. At some point, I need to unplug my neutral safety switch and build a jumper and install my little harness piece for the backup lights, because I'll have backup lights now. I went ahead and bought that little harness piece for that. I'm going to get my header wrench. I believe it's 3/8 on this car. Thought wrong, dude. This is 7/16. Back with a header wrench and a little ratchet with our 7/16 socket. Get that on all of these that'll let us get it on. Run them all down, don't get anything tight. And then we'll tighten them down, probably from the inside out. It's pretty run down. Things feels good to get this car back together. Feels pretty good to be able to use a ratchet on header bolts. Even if it is only for a little while and not on all of them. Not on all of them. We're at some point want to do something with this interior, get it back together. It shouldn't take a whole lot of time. I say that it'll take as long as it takes. And I haven't looked back again at my Z-bar stuff. Everything looks like it'll clear. It's supposed to with these headers. I mean, there could actually be a little bit more room in here for my hands and it wouldn't hurt my feelings, but there's just enough to get in and get what you need done. It feels like there's tons of room in here after you've had a 351 for a while, and then you forget how bad it was. These gaskets were good. I'd resealed these headers. They were leaking between where the tube attaches to the flange up here on the engine side a couple years ago. and I pulled them out, and I sealed up between all that. And it's been working, it's been holding. But every time you pull exhaust off and put it back on, you know, obviously it's a check for leaks and all that. So we'll be very hopeful that we don't have any. Man, it's so nice when you can just spin a ratchet around on these. Okay. Now it's time to make them tight. Ugh. Tight. 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 These were, I think these are Scott Drake headers. They were relatively cheap, and I can tell they won't last forever. But they have a good thick flange on them. I did have to do some resealing on them at one point. But for the money, they've been on here for a long time, and they're still holding it. I've had some higher dollar headers before, and they are better. But these are pretty good. Oh, okay. Get the shirt rearranged. Go to the other side, get that header put in, get that gasket lined up. Whoa, easy there. Bolt it on. The headers are on and tight. Now it's time for spark plugs. Get all these gnats out of my face. They seem to like my face. Oh, that one's in the car. It's right there. Spider webs off my nose. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna check and set the gap of all these beautiful little spark plugs. It's like 36. Oh man, that's exactly what we want with our $10 a piece spark plugs. Let's drop them on the ground. Yep, 36. The car seems more sloped than I thought it was. Maybe not. That's a long hair, man. Okay, let's get back to business. Everything's falling on the ground. 36. Where did that even go? I guess I don't need it, it's just trash. But man, it's jumping off the ground, jumping off the fender. 38. It takes a little muscle to get these things to, it's probably about 36. Whoa, that bent that way out without a whole lot of effort. 36, okay. Itchy from bugs. Sweat. But the plugs are going in. At least that's the idea. You know, you kind of can't win on your header to spark plug ratio. At least not, I can't think of a way right at the moment. Sometimes when your headers that actually fit pretty well and don't get in the way of much else, sometimes you bolt them on and the flange is in the way of the spark plug. Maybe not the plug itself, but the socket. And I've had it to where, maybe even on this engine, where I had to, with these headers possibly, where I had to loosen the headers and kind of move them up a little bit and tighten them back down, and then I can get the spark plug socket to go. And then when you're smart, then you can trim on your header flange and get it clearanced, I guess you'd say. But when they're on there right, they should clear without it. You wouldn't think they'd have that much movement, but they do. They do. Bolt it on just a little bit wrong. Come on, bug. Get out of here. You're back. And don't get your spark plugs too tight. I've done that before. I did that last time. I don't know how I managed to get them on there so tight, but man, I did. Barely get them out. I just use an 8-inch ratchet. Try to snug them down. When I was in high school, I'm gonna seem rambly here, but I've always been kind of particular about getting spark plugs snug because I bought a truck one time. I bought a 64 Chevy short bed custom cab with a 283 turbo 400 and 12 bolt. And I remember the seller acting like, it's not very fast, but it gets you around, and it was crazy dependable. I drove it for, maybe it wasn't that long, and I just decided I'll do a tune-up just because I liked working on stuff. Didn't know how long it'd been since it had one. It started first bump of the key, all that. Well, anyway, the reason why I'm telling you this story, all 8 of that 283 spark plugs were hand tight. I didn't even need a wrench to take them out. And whenever I put it back together with new spark plugs, it had a lot more power because it had compression. It wasn't leaking around there. It didn't sound like anything bad. It was low on power. It was the weirdest way I've seen something detuned. I mean, surely it wasn't done on purpose, but it was still just a little bit wacky. So, check every nut and bolt on every used car you ever look at because you don't know what they worked on. I guess that's my anxiety talking, but it's about the only answer I have. Okay, plugs are in, they're snug. I got our beautiful Ford numbered wires here. We can put on the right spot, in the right spots. It's gonna feel good to open the hood and not just see these be open exhaust ports and open spark plug holes. Been waiting for the day I come out and see a dirt dauber flying out of one of the holes or something. Just waiting to ruin this whole project. But luckily, I haven't seen that. I've also had really good experience out of these spark plug wires. They weren't that expensive. But I've used several sets throughout the years. I bet I've had this set for every bit of a decade on here. And they clear everything well so they don't rub and cause them to go bad. Which is good. Real good. That heater hose back down there. Okay. Let's get the other spark plugs in. Just run these down by hand here. See if you can do that without falling off the car, twisting your ankle or something. Hopefully I don't fall. It's going in pretty smooth, pretty fast. Got that snug down. Don't go crazy on it. Come on out of there, socket. You don't want to stay. It's not your home. There you go. You just like to work so much, you don't want to leave. You get that, you have to do the rest of them. Okay, you too. Yep, come off there. There we go. We're spark plugged. That one had a nice firm click. Okay, cool. Plugged in. All plugged in. Now I think we can do the Z-bar. And I'm really learning. It's so difficult to get good camera views for you guys. So much of the car is buried in the car. Here's our Z-bar. Here's the bracket that goes on the car. Right here. I already have the stud sticking out of the block. Did that a while back. Might have even filmed it. Have not edited that part yet. I need to just snake this around, get that attached to that, get this bolted up. This will end up being something more like this once it's installed. So we're going to get in there and get after it. Just scatter our previous project down the fender layer. There will end up being a spring that attaches to the clutch fork and goes back and hooks to something. We'll have to figure that out too. Maybe it just goes, I don't know. We'll figure that out. That's what we do. That is what we do. I put a very liberal amount of anti-seize on these. I had to tap the threads on the frame side where this bracket goes because this car has spent 60 years as an automatic, and those factory holes have done nothing but pick up road grime. I'm also, once I get this in here, if I do, oh boy, there's a lot of stuff to go around, isn't there? There's a brake line, some kind of wire. It's a ground from something. Let's get that out of the way. It's beautiful. Hooking around spark plug wire, hooking around the brake line to the rear. I just need to get under that steering shaft with this without dropping the whole thing under the car. It can be done. It's been done. Okay, get down. There you go. Now we'll slip the engine side of the Z-bar over its little plunger ball thing there. Make sure we're still in on the other side. We appear to be. Push it in all the way. Force all the rest of that grease out. And I did pack the Z-bar full of grease. This one does not have a grease fitting on it, so you can't simply service it with a grease gun. And I've seen that they make those. It's a pretty smart idea. Somebody was thinking when they did that. I imagine it was someone who's taken one of these off but greased in it before. Thought, you know, you could just put a grease fitting right there. Save yourself a lot of time. So they did. That's not the one I got in my kit. But we'll just have to see how it goes. Okay, those are started. I need to make sure I get this properly loaded, meaning I get the bracket on the car side pushed in good to where these are thoroughly encapsulating that Z-bar. My magnetic mic keeps trying to stick me to the car. So there's all of those fun factors. Now that I've got it all in there, I can't recall if those bolts are 1/2 inch, whoa, or 9/16. So I'm gonna go both. Let's go for 1/2, see if that fits it. I feel like this will be too small. Probably a 9/16. Yeah, or 9/16. Is there a way I can hold that, maybe with a pry bar, while I tighten it up? Maybe I can hold it with my hand. I don't think it needs to be super compressed, but it needs to be, it doesn't need to move away while I'm tightening it. I'd say mainly, as long as it doesn't have play back and forth, then it's probably good. There's probably a rule of thumb out there or something that tells you exactly how to measure and load all this stuff, but I don't know what that is. And I didn't get it on good enough because it moves back and forth. So I need to loosen it. I don't want this to have side-to-side movement. I can just tell you that's not going to be the right way. Just know that. So we'll get a pry bar. Bam, pry bar. Sitting on the ground waiting. See if I can get around the back side of that. Looks like I'm actually pushing on the right stuff. I think I am. How fancy is that? As tight as you can with your tiny little 3-inch wrench, and then come back after it with a real wrench if you can get it in there. Get these, I imagine, pretty tight. Hand tight, hand wrench tight. Okay, now let's feel. Does it want to slide back and forth? No, we love it. Now we need to, since it's already all hooked in, we need to get the top part that had the hole for the bolt over the stud that goes to the pedal, while we also align the rod end that goes down to the clutch fork. I have no idea what the ideal adjustment on all this stuff is, and I think I have multiple adjustment points. I think, this is just me thinking, but I think as perpendicular as you can get your bracket to your assembly makes the most sense leverage-wise for any mechanical device, so that it's not bound up. has the most leverage, all that stuff. But then I also want to pay attention to pedal feel. I remember back in the olden days when I worked on motorcycles that you always want full release on a clutch. You want to have comfortable full release where you know it's fully engaged. If you can have it fully engaged while the pedal is still only halfway up, that's probably good. As long as you also get full disengagement. It needs to go all the way disengaged, all the way engaged. Why am I out of range of motion there? Okay, let's take a look down in here. And you may or may not be able to see our next obstacle here. There you go, that's a decent little view. But our lower clutch rod is just too long with those headers. And I went and looked up the parts. If I mess something up that I shouldn't mess up, and I have to go backwards and take different steps, that lower clutch rod assembly, I believe I can get for 25 bucks. So it appears to even look longer than the one I can buy. So I should probably do more research before I start hacking away at stuff, but I'm going to start hacking away at stuff because this one is currently, when it's adjusted as shortly as it can be adjusted, it hits the header, and it's nowhere near being ready to go in. And I guess from what I read, that lower clutch rod needs to be somewhat regularly adjusted as the clutch wears, and it'll need to be lengthened. And I don't know how much this brand new clutch is going to wear and how much the flywheel is going to wear and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to shorten it because I have a lot of threads left on this other end, more than you can see. I'm going to shorten it to where it will just be like right here off the header and engage and to where it'll have play and not be wedged in there. So we need to measure that, which I'm sure will be different for everybody, case by case basis sort of deal. I imagine headers are all pretty inconsistent too. But I need to measure that and then trim the threaded rod portion so that I can get that on all the way and have it in, and we can get this all assembled. Well, here's our freshly trimmed clutch rod. I trimmed about 1/4 inch off. I'm gonna test fit it and see how it does. All right, after trimming about 1/4 inch off of that lower clutch rod, we can get it off the header, fully engaged off the header. And we have a little bit of rod down here. We have a little bit of rod down here. We set about right there. Let's get these nuts tightened up. Well, viewers, that's a wrap on part 4. And as you can see here, this is kind of a little prize for you guys who made it all the way to the end of this super long video. This will be a little preview of what's next to come, because the car's finished now. And we've been driving it. I've got exhaust on it now. So I'm going to give you a quick little walk around and a little exhaust listening to, I guess, pique your interest for our future episodes that are going to be coming up on how we got here. So let's take a look. Let's start off with a cold start. Make sure we're in neutral. There it goes, idling at 700 RPM. There's a little walk around. See our nice dented door there. Can't have that. Well, that was a little bit of a progress tease for you. It'll show you a little bit more of what's to come. I'm excited about it. Everything so far has come together really, really well. As always, thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next part. Progress.